Hi, this is Kane, and this is my First Amendment freedom of speech. The First Amendment states that you have the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and freedom of assembly, and the right to petition. Freedom of speech is the legal right to express one's opinions freely under freedom of speech. You can talk about your ideas, beliefs, and opinions free of government restrictions based on the content and subject only to reasonable limitations. Under freedom of speech, there are some restrictions. Private organizations in many schools. Some schools do not allow you to say things at will. An example of this would be the well-known court case of Bethel High School District number 43 versus Matthew Frazier. This court case is important because it tells you about the fact that you cannot say anything that you want in schools. This court case, Frazier created a speech that had inappropriate contented words in it and had sexual speakings in it, but had no obscenity in the speech. This is what Frazier said. I know a man who is firm. He is firm in his pants. He is firm in his shirt. His character is firm. But most of all, his belief in you students of Bethel is very firm. Jeff Coleman is a man who takes his point and pounds it in, if necessary. He takes an issue and nails it to the wall. He doesn't attack things in spurts. He drives hard, pushing and pushing, till finally he succeeds. Jeff is a man who would go to the very end, even in climax, for each and every one of you. So please, vote for Jeff Coleman, as he never come between us and the best that our school can possibly be. This speech was very inappropriate, and while he was telling the speech, there were 600 students that listened to this speech. Some of the students said that they were embarrassed by it, some were making gestures of what he was saying, and some were making noises, hooting and hollering over this speech. After this speech, the school had decided that this was a violation of many school policies, such as disruptive behavior and the use of vulgar and offensive speech. Frazier's punishment for this speech was a 3-day suspension. He was also unable to speak at his graduation ceremony and was unable to vote for the 3 people that would speak at his graduation ceremony. After Frazier tried to get his privileges back and failed, he filed a lawsuit against the school with the help of his parents in ACLU. The ACLU stands for American Civil Liberties Union, for violating his First Amendment right. The district court judge ruled in Matthew Frazier's favor. The school was unhappy with this ruling and appealed to the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in Matthew Frazier's favor with a very broadly worded opinion. After this, the school district asked the U.S. Supreme Court to take on this case. The Supreme Court decided they would take on this case. After the Supreme Court took on this case, they reversed the ruling of the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling. The decision was a vote of 7-2. The Supreme Court ruled that the school district was not violating his First Amendment right. The Supreme Court found that the subject was appropriate for Bethel School District to prohibit the use of vulgar and offensive content. Chief Justice Berger concluded that the First Amendment does not prohibit language and vulgar comments in schools. Chief Justice said this discourse was inconsistent with the fundamental values of public education. In another court case, there was a similar event. In Tinker versus Des Moines, students used black armbands to protest. In Tinker versus Des Moines, the protest was deemed non-disruptive. And in Matthew Frazier's case, they said that the speech was disruptive and disrupted the learning and education of the students. In Tinker versus Des Moines, it was found to be more political than not. In Frazier versus Bethel School District 43, it was said that Frazier only made it somewhat political. My opinion on the matter was that Bethel School District made the right decision on this case because of the fact that it violated school policies that he could have read or figured out himself. In conclusion, I believe that private organizations and schools do have the right to prohibit the use of inappropriate content in which Matthew Fraser used in his speech.